The warning lights are in, Holly. Welcome back to the West Ham Network. Anton and Holly here, giving you some breaking news. And it does feel like when it rains, it pours, Holly. There's an amber weather warning all over the country for snow. But there should be an amber warning for how you should live your life as a West Ham fan, to be honest with you, because I can't cope anymore.
It is relentless, isn't it, at the moment? I feel like you think, what's the worst that could happen? And then just another story comes out and there's just another bit of madness that has us all on the edge of our seats at West Ham and has us all questioning what on earth is going on? What is happening?
Absolutely. So if you are just joining us, breaking news in the last half an hour is Shane Thomas of The Athletic has exclusively said that Callum Wilson is in talks to leave West Ham. Which I find quite... I don't know, Holly, I'm like, we're in a relegation battle and he is our only Premier League proven striker and has banged in a couple of goals when given the opportunity. Mm-hmm. No matter what you thought of when West Ham signed him, he has actually been decent. In a West Ham shirt, and now he's in talks, and he's probably in talks whether or not he spat the dummy or whether or not West Ham have spat the dummy or asked him, there's an option to leave. But before I come to you, we signed a 1-year deal contract which was heavily incentive based. Interestingly enough, though, has he done enough for other clubs to come in and sniff around him?
It's difficult. I think if you sign an incentive-based deal with a player, they're going to want those opportunities to go and reach those incentives. And we've not been giving him much game time. He's not really had much of a look in. Just had 90 minutes, obviously, against Wolves, which is probably part of why he might want to leave. But I just think it's almost like whoever's decision it is that potentially he wants to leave, whether it's Wilson or whether it's the clubs, it's such a shame because it feels like we get close to maybe giving something a chance to click, and then we just give up on it and say, let's change direction. And I think that kind of sums up a lot that's happening at the club at the moment, because we go down one road and go, let's do a complete U-turn when there's a chance something might click. And then we find ourselves trying to find a solution again. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I completely agree with you. It's there's no element of consistency really in anything that we're doing. There's no rhyme nor rhythm behind, in theory, equally the signings. Like I love when West Ham sign players. I do, of course I do, and I like it when we do business early. I'm happy with that. I think my fear is it's the world of the unknown and the comfort of knowing that you've got, you know what Wilson is offering. Again, possibly contradicting when West Ham signed him. Not many people, a bit like when we signed Craig Dawson, not many people would have backed that signing. But he signed and he came and he's done a decent job. 4 goals, 18 games. And he's not started every game that he's played, obviously. He's been in and out of the team, which again lacks consistency in anything that we do. He's 33. To be honest with you, Holly, like I'm trying to see two sides to this story. Do I blame him if he wants to leave? No, I don't.
Yeah.
Because as fans, we see it looks like a shit show. And lots of people are insinuating from inside the club it's a shit show. So are these players seeing this? But we still have the ability to bring players in and coaches in and, dress over the cracks. I don't know where I'm at. I don't know where I'm at with it. I think it makes us look like a shit show, and I don't want Wilson to go because he is Premier League proven, and we talk a lot about we need people to come in and make us survive, and in theory bringing in Pablo and Tati is trying to replicate the Kits and Hartson duo, but there's a clear difference between the two. 2 were Premier League proven and 2 weren't.
Exactly. And I think at the moment, we just need to do the least risky things possible. So if we know someone's capable of doing kind of enough for us right now, in my opinion, we need to go into this window, get rid of players that didn't have a place or that we knew weren't going to perform to the level we needed to save ourselves, and bring in replacements for them as a priority. Or obviously, if we're going to keep the centre-backs, we've got bring in more defenders that can help us stop conceding goals. It just seems... I hope I'm wrong, and I hope in the next few days we can see more of where we're trying to head in terms of everything with transfers. But getting rid of a proven Premier League goal scorer and bringing in, like you said, the fear of the unknown. I'm excited about Tati and Pablo. I think they could both be brilliant. But getting rid of someone, I almost wish we would check it works before we get rid of people. We've got rid of 𝗕𝗥𝗘𝗁, we've got rid of Emerson, we've got rid of all these players that now we're saying, actually, that probably would have been quite useful. Yeah. Have them hang around, check that our plan works, and then get rid.
Yeah, because it does feel like exactly what you've said there. It feels like we're just like scattergun. It's a scattergun approach. It's okay then. Well then, see you later, and don't actually tactically plan out the future of what that actually looks like. Like it's as if West Ham didn't know that we had players that were going to go to the AFCON. Now, okay. At the time, I don't believe we knew that wan-Bissaka was going to go Congo, but I do think there's enough due diligence when you're spending that amount of money on a player to look into their, they're not, what's your intentions internationally? That must be a conversation. You don't just assume that that they're not there. You can talk about the kind of story in Scotland, living in Scotland, is that Harvey Barnes is an option for Scotland. So if a club, I'm just using that as an example, even though in England people might not necessarily know that, but that is an option in Scotland. So therefore Newcastle would know that he would have a potential allegiance to a couple of international clubs. So surely West Ham knew that wan-Bissaka had options. And surely, sorry.
Everything seems to catch us off guard at the moment, which is baffling when the same things happen. Like you said, you would hope that with due diligence, you would know what might take a player out, whether that's an injury, whether that's international duty, whatever it is. But it always seems to come as a surprise somehow to West Ham, doesn't it? I think maybe it is a clutching at straws and making quick decisions to bring people in and get rid of people to save money, but not, I guess, thinking through every eventuality. I think that's what we're not doing properly at the moment, is we're going, bring in 2 strikers, get rid of someone. But at no point are we going, do we want to check that these 2 settle in well and that they fit within our system before we let go of the proven Premier League goal scorer that we've already got on our books and we've got to the end of the season? I think it's just really difficult because there's that lack of vision of what we do to protect ourselves, including international duty, making sure we've got depth to be able to cope with things like AFCON coming up, which we knew was coming. We've been speaking about it for months, even on the channel, but it just doesn't feel like there's that forward thought to make sure we're going to be okay.
Yeah, and I get the point here that he's saying, the fact that we've bought 2 new strikers, so his game time will be limited and therefore 100%. His money. So 100% get that. But equally, though, it's about the proven player against the non-proven players. And as much as I want those non-proven players to be the success that we think and hopefully pray that they can be, and we're all vying on that option, we are throwing our eggs into one basket and we are gambling with our future. I'm not saying that Wilson is the answer either. I'm just saying we want options. Another way to look at it could be that maybe just Nuno simply doesn't like Wilson, and maybe he sees Wilson as a there could be other factors in this. It could be that Wilson could be a bit of a dickhead behind the scenes. We've seen a little bit of a taster of what Wilson and Antonio with their banter. I don't deny whatsoever. I think Wilson probably is quite cocky. I think he's cocksure of himself. And I wonder if that plays badly into the West Ham dressing room. You're hearing rumours and situations that maybe things aren't so great in the changing room, but I don't know how we would know that. What do you think?
I think it's really hard, and based on some of those comments as well, I can understand.
It wouldn't surprise me, honestly. It would not surprise me.
I think that would be the one that would kill me off.
Do you know what? He was signed before. I was going to say he was signed before the deadline for the Forest game tomorrow. Play against West Ham tomorrow and score.
Honestly, I think I've been close to tears of West Ham. I think that would be it. But I think it's just so difficult. Like I understand completely why Wilson would want to leave. If I'm in Wilson's shoes and I'm getting paid more based on goals, and no one's giving me, apart from last game, a full 90. I'm not getting time to settle in. I'm not getting time to link up with midfielders. No one's giving me a look in. And then the window opens and we bring in two younger strikers that you presume are going to go ahead of him in the pecking order. For Wilson, you must be looking and thinking, well, what am I going to do here for the next 6 months? And you said before we joined this stream, obviously, given his age, he's going to want to play football. And you can tell by the way he speaks about football, he loves the game. I don't think he's the kind of player that wants to sit on the sidelines until he retires. So I understand from Wilson's perspective why he would be like, well, what's the point in hanging around here? But from a club perspective, you would hope that maybe we could convince him to hang around to at least the end of the season on the basis that we need that depth. Because we keep getting rid of players and then not having the depth at all.
Yeah. Donnie, keep an eye on the channel. I think there'll be more news on potential signings coming out later on for Russ's Hammers headlines, so keep your eye on the channel for that one. But yeah, I mean, another way to look at it would be as well that if you keep Callum Wilson, surely there would be an incentive potentially. You know, if anything, I would look at the Callum Wilson situation, signing the two players we've signed and gone, right, see you three. You three have got the potential to save our season. But what I'm going to do is, you two have got a brand new contract. Wilson, I'm going to incentivise you even more.
Yeah.
And I'm going to double or whatever it is, add extra percentage on each goal or each appearance that you make. And I need you to save West Ham. And you could go on and get cult hero status. Because let's be brutally honest, and Ben made a valid point in one of his videos recently, West Ham need to play it at European qualification standard to survive. Like, that's the level of points West Ham need between now and the end of the season to kind of guarantee an element of safety. We need to be playing at a level that we are chasing the pack, not a level of relegation battle. If we are consistently playing the form that we're playing in, we're gone. Clearly we know that, so we have to flip our season dramatically. And just gambling, I think, is the concern. Just a gamble, and I'll put trust in Nuno. This is his first window as a West Ham manager, so you know, as long as Nuno's fully in charge of that, then I'll back that decision. I just hope that if we do let Wilson go, because he's in talks to leave the club, it's the right decision, and we've not shot ourselves in the foot. But we've been stung so many times, Holly, so many times.
So many times. And we know how hard it is at West Ham to find a striker that fits. Wilson's not had a load of game time. Obviously, I'm seeing the comments saying Wilson won't keep us up. I don't think alone he will. I'm not sure he's going to score banging loads and loads of goals. But I just think we need anyone that could make a positive difference right now and then bring in more and better. But I think more than anything, right now, we need every single player, especially on the pitch. Frog in a well here. Very good point. It's the lack of spirit. We need everyone to buy into the project of keeping West Ham up in the Premier League this season. And to do that, like you said, perhaps we give Wilson an extra incentive to stay, but also to fight. I think we've got to do whatever we can at this moment in time to give the players that oomph that they need to pick things. You're getting in trouble. To give them the oomph and the fight that they need to actually make something different happen that we're not managing to make happen. And I just don't want us to take risks. I think that's the best way to put it, because you know these risks don't always pay off. We've seen it.
It's funny though, because as a West Ham fan, I feel like sometimes I'm calling West Ham to take risks, but then I'm like fearful of this moment. Like, I think if you were seeing it, obviously there's rumours now kicking about that Guido Rodriguez could still be heading out the door. But then again, I feel like I've heard that story so many times and it never actually happens. I think there's just other players that I would rather be seeing going out the door first, and keeping our options open. And losing Wilson feels like that a gamble. I get it. I'm not. It sounds like we're putting all our eggs, me and you, Holly. It sounds like from this video people might take from it, we're putting our eggs in one basket of Wilson. We're not. We're really not. We're just saying it's Premier League proven versus non-Premier League proven. And I think I get he's 33. But I would have pulled all three of those players together. And Russ said earlier on in this video, we're playing a game now every week until March, I think it is. And we've got a cup competition. And I'd be saying to those three forwards, like, you've got your opportunity to write your name into... Because let's be honest, I know the players who won Europa Conference Leagues wrote their name into history. But, lots of players wrote their name into history by keeping West Ham up. Kitson-Hartson, Tevez... Just those sorts of players that have wrote their name in the history books for survival seasons,
Yeah. And for me as well, I think we've got two problems. The first one, our starting 11 is not good enough in the way that we perform for us to stay in the league. The second one is our bench and our squad depth is not enough either, because we can't do anything different. We're stuck with that starting 11. Pretty much every substitution weakens us. And this is where we need to not just have a bare starting 11 and rely on each of those 11 to perform, have no rest, not get injured. We do need other options. And for me, a player like, for example, a 𝗕𝗹𝗹𝘂𝗺 being able to drop in, or a Wilson being able to drop in, or even an Antonio, these are the kind of players that, no, they're not the one that you want as your first choice. But should someone get injured, should something not be working, it's something else to try, and it's something that can give you that edge that means you don't drop off the face of the earth at the 60th minute because someone needs to come off.
And I do think if he does go, I would not be surprised whatsoever if clubs like Leeds do go in and get someone like Wilson. Obviously, they were after Tati, you know, bringing in Wilson. Wilson could be looking at clubs like Leeds, you know, probably even Everton to a certain extent, like clubs like that. But if you look at Leeds as an example, they would play him. Look what's happened with 𝗕𝗏𝗏𝗂𝗧 as well. Like, I know he's injury prone, but they've given him a chance, and his goals have pushed them further up the league and make that distance. Nottingham Forest are going to be desperate for players to prove a point, as well. So, you know, I just fear at this time, was there nothing we could have done or could do to convince otherwise, unless there's more to the story than meets the eye. And that's the only thing, Holly, that's maybe kicking in with me, is that Nuno and Wilson don't see eye to eye. There's been a disagreement, or he's not a good person to be in and around the squad with.
And we'll never know what goes on behind the scenes. And I think as fans, it's very easy for us to make a judgment on Wilson shouldn't be asking to leave. The club shouldn't be letting him go. But we don't know what has sparked this conversation about him going. It's just difficult. And touching on what Jamie said here as well, worth keeping for his experience. The way that Wilson talks about football, the way that he analyses the game, and the things that he said, whether or not obviously it's the case in terms of how he acts in the dressing room, he has spoken about football as, like, even on the bench, he's assessing what he can do to damage the opposition. Sometimes I think having more experience and players that have been through a lot more can give you that little bit of grit to hopefully fight through the hard times. Whereas if you're bringing young players in, they've just joined, perhaps their agents are telling them, if West Ham go down, you'll hopefully have made yourself a name by them, but you can go elsewhere. It's a lot harder for them to probably be fully committed. And I think what we need right now is players that are fully committed to the cause and aren't rattled by a bad result, by frustrated fans, because all of this is stuff that the players are contending with at the moment. And I do think that losing someone like a Wilson at a time where we probably need experience more than ever is another risk as well. How do you feel about experience side of Wilson?
Yeah, 100%. I think it's just that's probably my biggest fear. As soon as I seen the name, the first element I went to was, bang, experience is gone from the top line of the team. But then again, I don't really know where the experience, apart from Jarrod Bowen, I don't know what experience we're really calling on in the West Ham squad. Here's an interesting one. I think Nuno wants out. He wants the sack. Holly, God, does he? Do you think he does? I know it sounds ridiculous. Listen, we live in a modern game now, right? And I honestly believe, I mean, look at the career. I'm not saying Jose Mourinho wants the sack at clubs, but Jose Mourinho is a multi-millionaire from earning his money from being sacked. Now, you could be a manager that could put your name into the mix. And I know it's a ridiculous statement. I'm not saying it's Nuno, but you need a quick couple of million quid. So you just perform pretty shit, sign a 2-year contract and get paid off very quickly. And, you know, Nuno looked like a beaten man. He looks like the last 3 managers we've had. Nuno, Potter, Lopetegui, all sitting at the sidelines, fingers across their face, head across their heads, like as if, like, what are we going to do? But then again, is Nuno just sitting there going, let me get to January, let me get to January, let me get to January, let me show you who I can bring in and who I want and change the style?
It's so hard. I think putting myself in Nuno's position, you must start with such good intentions and high hopes that you can be the one to come in and do something differently to what the others have. Nuno's come in, he's tried different players. He's tried to work out if he can get more out of players than other head coaches have. He's probably come to a realization that the squad's not good enough and thought, get me to January, because that's when I can bring in these reinforcements. But at the same time, I think a point must come for a lot of head coaches where they go, we keep seeing the same theme, right? That the head coaches are saying the players are not doing on the pitch what we're doing in training. They're not doing what we're practicing week in, week out. We look so bad in games that they must be at some point beside themselves. And maybe that is the point as a head coach where you start to mentally check out and go, I don't think I can keep them up. And if I go, I go. But it's so difficult because I think once you start thinking like that, even if you or I were in a job and you're already looking at other jobs, 1 foot out the door, you're not doing as good of a job as if you were completely committed. Your life was wanting to do well for West Ham. And I think we've got this situation with a lot of players now who are probably going, if we get relegated, what am I going to do? Potentially Nuno going, if I can't turn this around, what am I going to do? And it just brings new challenges as well, where no one's fully committed and everyone's kind of going, what's my backup plan? And not focusing 100% on the fight that we have ourselves in right now. I saw Bowen came out and said that we need to be acting right now like we're in a scrap. And I think that's exactly what we need, isn't it, in terms of mentality? But I can see how head coaches would potentially check out and go, look, I've tried, especially when it's happened time after time after time. Would it make Nuno look terrible that he's the only head coach that can't turn it around? Not necessarily.
Nuno's probably, you know, and I think coaches like Nuno have, to a certain extent, Nuno's history as a manager is actually not that bad. Like he's done reasonably well for a kind of unproven, like long-term manager. Although he's had 200 Premier League games now under his belt, for quite a young coach. And you know, this comment, he's making it impossible not to sack him. Probably doing the same here. He hasn't got his backroom team. Looks fed up. Players not doing what he says. 100% he wants a payoff. And Nuno did say himself, it's interesting, about getting these players up for it, not about the new players, because he said it's not just going to be on the new players, it's about the current lot of players. And it was quite damning. I'd done the post-match press conference on the comments that Nuno said, and even though I said it, and at the time I was quite flabbergasted that he made that accusation, and it's a good accusation, I'm glad he called them out, I had to do another video on it because I was like, that's really damning. That's massively damning when your coach is calling out effort of the team when we can see it. But if the coach is seeing it, then it's absolutely clear there are clear issues kicking about at West Ham. Is Wilson one of them? I don't know, but it's tough,
it's
man.
You could see it though in the Wolves game. Like even when we were losing possession, we're not running back with everything that we've got to try and chase the ball down after we lose it, and it's leading to goals time and time again. And I think it does come with fixing the actual squad that we've got at the moment before you say we're going to fix everything by January. January is a massive opportunity, don't get me wrong, for us to bring in better players and bring in something new, which we know we need desperately. But we have a squad that should be able to perform to such a higher standard than they are on the pitch right now. And the question does come to how on earth you can get more out of these players, because surely they don't end a game thinking, I put a proper shift in there, I'm not sure how we keep managing to lose. Because you only have to watch back the highlights and you see times where we've just not even closed the ball down, not chased the ball back after we lose possession. Simple stuff.
Yeah, 100%. I'm going to read the last few comments because myself and Holly do need to head, so we just thought we'd jump on and bring you that breaking news. And that's the benefit of watching the West Ham Network, because we bring it all to you, whether we're happy, whether we're sad, whether we're disappointed, you name it, we're here for you every step of the way. Thoughts on 𝗪𝗛𝗄 and Maresco? What's your thoughts on the two coaches? Holly, you run West Ham, right? You're the owner of West Ham. What are you doing right now?
I think you've got to be looking at options, because our form's so bad under Nuno that you'd be mad to not. Because if we lose against Forest and then we keep losing, we're 100% relegated. A point comes where a new manager sometimes is the only short-term kind of fix to turn something around. And I guess setting up defensively is what is costing us a lot at the moment. So maybe going a little bit more attacking head coach that's not afraid to just try something would make difference. Like Callum said here, whoever wins this game stays up. This is huge. It's a 6-pointer, which is going to pretty much put someone deeply in the relegation zone or close that gap and mean that either of us could fall in. I think, if I own West Ham, I'm definitely working out options in the background, because you can't sit on a manager that's, I suppose, making the same mistakes. My fear, though, is that the reason that Nuno is doing so badly, and when you look at those tables of all the points per game under each head coach, it's getting worse and worse. I don't necessarily think it's because the head coaches are getting worse. I think it's because it's coming back to bite us that we've not invested. We've not got a direction, a strategy, a full squad. It's all mixes and matches of different ideas and bargains, and not what you actually need as a full starting 11 and a full bench. But yeah, so basically, to cut a very long story short, I would be looking at other options. I'd be looking at what both of them could do, but I'd also be looking at what they were both saying they could bring to West Ham, because if they're going to play attacking football, knowing that our defence isn't good enough, but we could bring in some defenders that can fix that perhaps this window, and they want to go in and outscore the opposition, I'd probably go for whoever says they can score more goals, to be honest, at this moment. What would you do?
Oh man, I don't know anymore, to be honest with you. I feel there's times where I'm like, I feel sorry for Nuno, and there's times where I'm like, what are you doing? And I feel like our managers just don't really, like, I don't know what it is about West Ham and why people want, I know someone's going to have to manage us, and why people, how we are capable of even bringing players in the door. But then again, when I look at Tati and Pablo, like, I'm not being disrespectful to them in any way, but I think I'm coming to terms, and even though I've known this for such a long time, I'm coming to terms with football's changed from the football that I once knew. So money is the driver, and it kind of like, you know, I look at those words and I love hearing the players say, I'll fight and I'll leave everything on the park, but it is just words, and they don't really mean it to that level. A little bit like Kudus, like,
yeah,
no problem leaving and going to Tottenham, no problem making the odd swipey comment. I don't think he'll be at Spurs next season, to be honest with you, either. I think he'll chase the money and probably head to Saudi at some point. That's just how I feel about players like that. But I'm learning that now, and I'm I don't know. What would I do? I don't know. I really don't know. What I would have done something 10 years ago, and not now. And then we hopefully wouldn't have been in this situation. And I know that you can never say never, but I think I'd have just looked at the infrastructure and built something different. Hindsight's a wonderful thing, but I could go back and we could start slating the board like I always like to do, but it's just one of those ones. That's the answer. It's not sack Nuno, it's sack the board. That's not going to happen. So I don't know. Like, I think Amaran's been sacked today. Let's put it here. Has David Sullivan made contact? Yes or no? I think he would have, because that's what he does. Has he probably made contact with the other geezer? Has he? Probably. Has he probably been told no? Probably. It's just, but I wonder if the offer is, you know, they're not going to pay £7 million for Traore. They've got to pay off Nuno, which would probably cost package of £6 million.
Yeah.
Right. So there's your Traore money, and then you put the money that you were paying Nuno into Amarim, and then you incentive him 6-month deal, save West Ham. We'll pay you this big package and we'll give you this kitty in the summer. Yeah. However, they've just signed 2 players, £50 million that Nuno wanted. So
difficult, because you've got to back a head coach, but at the same time, you can't be giving them 50 million of backing and then say if you lose the next game, you're gone. So I think we've got to make a decision, and we're going to have to stick with it at this point for the rest of the season. And I see Kevin here as well saying that he no, not at all. Really good comments actually, aren't they? I thought the Wilson transfer was a joke at the time, but he's made me eat my words. I thought the other strikers were coming up as backup to him. So obviously we're talking about this. We don't know whether Wilson wants to leave, whether the club want funds and they don't necessarily see a place, or whether Wilson's gone, I might be first choice, but are you saying that you're going to give them 30 minutes to prove themselves, and if they score more, that they're going to get the chance? I think this is where it's very difficult. But right now, for me, if Wilson's heart is set on actually playing a part in keeping West Ham in the Premier League, proving himself for whatever minutes he's given, maybe the club need to incentivise more, like you said, to be able to go, yes, we've brought in 2 others, but your goal bonus is going up, then I think we need to do whatever we can at this moment in time to get people on side to just perform. And that's like short term, keep us up in the Premier League. Then a massive rebuild project needs to, I won't go into it now, but such a big rebuild project would need to happen in the right order with the right finances and the right people. But priority 1 has got to be short term now, of scoring goals and stopping conceding. So for me, hopefully keep Wilson as well as the other 2 that we've brought in. I think Tati and Pablo are going to be great. In what formation, like in terms of who we're using? Are we using Wilson? Are we using them? I don't know. I want to see what they can do. Bring in a centre back, and if we're keeping Nuno, we've got back Nuno, in my opinion, and see what we can do for the rest of the season.
Yep.
Scary.
Scary times. Well, listen, myself and Holly do need to head, but news coming out of The Athletic, Roisin Thomas broke the news saying that Callum Wilson is in talks to leave West Ham after only signing with us on a short-term deal with crazy incentives involved there on performance-based bonuses, etc. But this comes literally an hour after West Ham brought Tati Castellanos into the club from Lazio, the second striker in the space of 5 days, 50 million quid out the door. Just like that. 2 signings at the start of a window. I think I fainted when I heard it. Anyway, if you are new around here, hit the subscribe button, hit the thumbs up, leave a comment. Lots of content coming your way. I'll leave the final words over to you, Holly.
So, final words, no pressure. While everything seems quite scary at the moment, I just want to try and remind myself to give myself a bit more positive mindset here. Hopefully, we get some centre-backs, which makes this all feel a bit more balanced. But we are spending money this window. We have had 2 signings come in as strikers that we've thought that's exciting. Obviously, the Wilson news following so closely is not what we all wanted to hear. But if we can continue to work quickly and strengthen our side, we're putting ourselves in the best position to hopefully have a far better second half of the season than the first. So I'm keeping the belief for now, and I'm hoping that all my fears are proven wrong in the coming weeks. And another final word, please make sure you like and subscribe to West Ham Network, because we love making content for you all.
We do. Thank you very much, everyone. Take it easy, and of course, come on, you Irons.
Irons.